I didn't realize I was becoming invisible until I started rehearsing how to explain my own absence. Not why I was late, not where I'd been, but why I didn't matter enough to be mentioned. I'm a pretty steady person. I work regular hours, pay my bills on time, keep my life small and manageable. I like routine. Morning coffee, the same corner diner on Sundays, a short walk after dinner. I don't chase chaos, and I don't confuse drama with passion. When I met her, she felt like a calm place. She worked at a local marketing office. Nothing flashy, just long days and coworkers she complained about over cheap takeout. She laughed easily. She listened. For the first few months, I felt chosen. I showed up consistently. I remembered things she forgot. I adjusted my schedule when hers ran late. I didn't mind being flexible because it felt mutual, at least at first. Then the comparison started, subtle enough to ignore. Stories about her exes that somehow turned into benchmarks. Comments about how someone else used to handle things better. Little pauses before she said my name, like she was deciding whether it fit the moment. She never yelled. She never insulted me directly. It was quieter than that. She would say things like, "You wouldn't get it," or "It's not really your scene," whenever I asked about her friends. Invitations became vague. Plans shifted last minute. I learned not to ask too many questions. In public, she softened me. Not affection, editing. She'd interrupt my stories to correct details that didn't matter. She'd laugh before I finished a sentence, like she already knew where it was going and found it boring. When people asked how long we'd been together, she'd answer quickly and move on, as if the timeline itself was embarrassing. I told myself it was normal, that relationships settle, that not everything needs to be posted or announced. I didn't need to be the center of attention. I just didn't want to feel like an inconvenience. The first time she asked me not to come to something, she said it was about space. The second time, it was about the vibe. The third time, she said it might be confusing for people. That word stuck with me. She had a birthday coming up. A big one, according to her. A rented space, co-workers, friends from different parts of her life. She mentioned it casually, like it was a logistical detail instead of a milestone. I assumed I was going. I'd already rearranged my weekend. A week before the party, she hesitated before speaking. She said it might be better if I came later. Or maybe not at all. She said some people didn't know about us, and she didn't want to deal with questions. I nodded like I understood. Inside, something started to harden. I told myself it was just one night, that I could be patient. But as the date got closer, I realized this wasn't about timing or privacy. It was about placement. And I already knew where she planned to put me. The party was on a Friday night at a small event space downtown, the kind with string lights and exposed brick meant to look casual and important at the same time. I didn't plan to go at first. I told myself I was respecting her wishes. An hour before it started, she texted and said I could stop by if I wanted. "Just keep it low-key," she added. "No emojis, no reassurance." I took that as permission, not an invitation. When I arrived, the place was already full. Music low enough for conversation, drinks in everyone's hands. I spotted her across the room almost immediately. She looked relaxed, animated, fully present in a way I hadn't seen in weeks. She didn't see me at first. When she did, her smile flickered, just for a second, before she walked over. "You made it," she said, like I'd shown up unannounced. I said happy birthday. I handed her the gift I'd brought. She thanked me quickly and set it aside without opening it. Then she introduced me. "This is a friend," she said, after a pause that felt longer than it probably was. No explanation, no correction. Someone asked how we knew each other. She answered for me. "Oh, just around. We hang out sometimes." Then she laughed and pulled someone else into the conversation. I stood there holding a drink I didn't want, listening to her tell stories I'd already heard, except now I was edited out of them. Trips we took together became things she'd done alone. Jokes we shared became hers. I didn't feel angry. I felt clear. At one point, a guy from her office leaned over and asked me casually if I was seeing anyone. I looked at her before answering. She was already looking away. That was it. I finished my drink. I waited for a pause, then I leaned in and said quietly, "I'm going to head out." She frowned, confused. "Already?" I nodded. "Yeah." I don't think I'm supposed to be here. She started to say something, then stopped. She didn't follow me. She didn't ask me to stay. I walked out into the cool night air and felt lighter with every step away from the door. She texted later, said I'd misunderstood, said it wasn't a big deal, said I was being sensitive. I read the messages once and didn't respond. By the time I got home, the relationship was already over. I didn't announce it. I didn't block her dramatically. I just stopped explaining myself. And for the first time in a long while, the silence felt honest. The days after were quiet in a way that felt intentional, not empty. I didn't reach out. I didn't wait for an apology that would never come cleanly. I kept my routine intact like it was something fragile that deserved protection. I went to work. I cooked simple meals. I went on my evening walks and let my thoughts finish themselves instead of cutting them off halfway. Every time my phone buzzed, I checked it once and put it face down. She sent a few messages. Not apologies, questions. Are you okay? Can we talk? I feel like you're pulling away. I answered once, briefly. I said I needed space. I didn't explain why. That seemed to bother her more than any argument would have. I stopped orbiting her schedule. I stopped being available by default. Without the constant adjustments, my days felt longer, fuller. I started saying yes to things I'd been postponing and no to things I'd been tolerating. A few weeks passed. Through mutual acquaintances, small details reached me without effort. Her birthday photos went up late and came down quickly. People noticed she'd been defensive, distracted. The same coworkers she'd wanted to impress started drifting. Stories didn't line up. Explanations got thinner. None of it felt satisfying. It just felt predictable. She showed up at places I used to go, suddenly interested again in the routines she'd dismissed. Once I saw her across the room at the diner I liked. She noticed me too. She hesitated, then smiled like we were still mid-conversation. I nodded politely and went back to my food. Later that night, she sent a longer message. She said she'd been overwhelmed. She said she hadn't meant to make me feel small. She said the party had been complicated, that work politics were weird, that labels weren't always necessary. I read it carefully. I didn't argue with any of it. I replied the next morning. I said I understood. I said I wasn't angry. I said I just didn't want to be in a relationship where my presence had to be managed. She didn't respond right away. When she did, it was scattered. She missed what we had. She didn't think I'd actually leave. She said things could be different now that she realized how serious I was. That sentence told me everything. Her life started to wobble in small, unremarkable ways. Missed deadlines. A roommate moving out. Friends getting tired of emotional reruns. Nothing dramatic. Just the slow accumulation of consequences when attention runs out. Meanwhile, my life stayed boring in the best way. Stable, quiet, mine. I wasn't improving to prove anything. I was improving because I finally had the room, and she could feel the distance growing, even without me saying a word. A few months later, she asked if we could meet. She said she wanted closure. She suggested a coffee shop near her office. Neutral territory, like we were negotiating something instead of revisiting a choice. I agreed. Not because I missed her, but because I no longer felt pulled by the outcome. She looked tired, not in a dramatic way, just worn down. Her confidence had thinned around the edges. She talked fast at first, filling space. She said she'd done a lot of thinking. She said she hadn't realized how much she relied on me until I was gone. I listened. I didn't interrupt. She admitted the party had been a mistake. She said she'd been afraid of committing publicly, afraid of being seen as settled, afraid of choosing something that couldn't be undone. She said she never meant to hurt me. I believed her, and I still said no. I told her calmly that intent wasn't the issue. Placement was. I said I didn't want to be someone's private comfort and public omission. I said I didn't leave to teach her a lesson. I left because staying would have taught me the wrong one. She reached across the table, then stopped herself. She asked if there was any chance. I shook my head, not out of anger, out of clarity. As we stood to leave, someone from her office walked in. They greeted her politely, then looked at me with curiosity. She hesitated, just like before. This time I didn't wait. I'm a friend, I said evenly, meeting her eyes. An old one. She swallowed. She nodded. Outside, the air felt familiar, grounded. The same city, the same streets, just a different weight on my shoulders. She texted once more that night, a short message. I get it now. I didn't reply. Not because I wanted the last word, because I didn't need one. Some people mistake access for loyalty. Some mistake silence for weakness. I learned that respect doesn't arrive after humiliation. It leaves before it. Walking away wasn't revenge. It was the first honest thing I'd done for myself.